from the fine state of California. Joining me right now, a Democrat with the Congressional Black Caucus, among other elite groups. All right, as it stands now, Congresswoman, how would you vote?
Well, actually, we're waiting to find out when we're going to vote. And what's happening is both caucuses are meeting as we speak. So I just stepped out for a minute because we're looking at the details. And I think that I could say pretty easily that my colleagues believe that what we should have had, of course we don't, but we should have just raised the debt ceiling without connecting it to the deficit.
That's a moot point now, right?
Yes, yeah. It is a moot point now, right. But that it really would have been the preferred thing. If not, a balanced approach. And so there are definitely positive parts about this deal, and there's negative parts, and that's what everybody is grappling with right now.
Now, where are you leaning, personally?
Well, this is what I'm examining now, because to me it's important to find out where the cuts are and how the cuts are going to come down. What I do feel positive about, though, is that Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid will not be cut. I do feel positive about that. I think that's very important. I would have preferred that the deal would have included revenues, but like you said, most important, the country, the United States, cannot, for the first time in its history, default, and all of us are united in that.
All right, now I guess there is some overlap, Congressman, between the two caucuses, maybe 80, 85 members in the House. Is it safe to say that most of them, if not virtually all of them, save you and maybe a few others, are going to vote against this?
No, I don't think
really?
It's safe to say that at all. I mean, people are really trying to figure it out. And so you're right, there is overlap between the Progressive Caucus, the Black Caucus, the Latino Caucus. We have lots of caucuses. And there is overlap, and we're kind of going back and forth between the rooms looking at the details. And as I sit in the room, I hear members saying that they're not going to vote for it. I hear members saying they're not sure. And I hear members saying that they are. What we haven't done is a vote count. And so I think it'll be interesting to see. But one thing that my colleagues also feel is that we want to know where our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are going to vote. How are they going to vote? And I think what you might find, I mean, we'll see, you might find Democrats waiting to vote to see whether or not the Republicans actually put up most of the votes for this plan.
Oh, really? And then decide who commits for this and who doesn't?
Well, that might be the case.
Wow. There's always some machinations for the way both parties work in the House.
Exactly.
All right.
Absolutely.
Then could I ask you this, Congresswoman? Stepping back from this process, I've heard many Democrats express frustration, if not just sheer anger, at how the president handled this, that he gave away the store, Republicans rolled him. What do you say?
Well, I certainly don't feel anger at the president. I mean, I think that the entire country's back has been up against the wall. And frankly, you know, I was very dismayed that my Republican colleagues actually handled it this way, knowing that the deficit of the debt ceiling was raised 7 times under the Bush administration, including when both houses of Congress were controlled by the Democrats, and the Democrats didn't use the debt ceiling in the way that I feel my Republican colleagues
But there was a lot of blame to go around. I mean, the criticism of Democrats, 800-plus days without submitting a budget of your own, and when you had control of the whole shebang.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess, has it poisoned the proverbial well?
I hope it hasn't poisoned the proverbial well. And I have to say, being a new member and only being here for a few months, I certainly don't feel that way. But I will tell you, though, that, you know, in looking back, I'm looking at this and wondering why it was raised 7 times during the Bush administration. I think it was raised over 10 times when Reagan was president. And
regardless, you don't see the president having lost some political capital or support among, let's say, core liberals within the party?
Well, let me just tell you that there's a lot of people that believed in a balanced approach. There's a lot of people that wanted to see revenues on the table.
And they weren't.
And people are
so
absolutely disappointed that that happened.
There's talk
you
they might be,
how
Congresswoman.
I felt.
I understand. There's talk that they might, in the second tranche of when a commission or this committee takes it up, revenues on the table.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Is that a relief to some of your
Well,
members?
that certainly holds out hope that there's a possibility that revenues were not excluded from the second half. And
Mitch
so
McConnell was saying they all but were excluded. You have a different interpretation.
Yes, we heard it differently, absolutely. Okay. And so I think, you know, as with everything, you always have to look to the details. And as I understand it, it is not written that revenues are absolutely excluded.
What about Nancy Pelosi? She has been telling you and your colleagues, Democratic colleagues, vote your conscience. She's not been an aggressive cheerleader or even doing the president's bidding or Harry Reid's bidding. What are we to learn from that?
Well, I think, one, that the responsibility is on the Republican caucus to put up most of the votes. So that's certainly what I take from that. But also, I know that she feels positive about the fact that Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security were protected. And also that we're not going to have to go through this exercise again in 6 months, that this won't come up again until 2013. So I think those were definitely victory points that we have to remember.
Congresswoman, a real pleasure seeing you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We know you had
well.
the caucus meetings and everything else. You juggle that to join us.
I'm going to run back.
Go. All right.